Florida's newest and best in radio, Sunshine Radio 96.7 FM.
We're still the greatest country on the face of the earth, the home of the brave and the land of the free.
Hi, this is Keith, the boss of the beach, and I'm live right here. Of course, we're at Caddy's, and this is Gulfport. Guess what? It is a wonderful day, but in talking about our area, of course, we're at 96.7 FM. We're on St. Pete Radio, and we're also on WVET Live, WVETonlineradio.com, and this is Keith, the boss of the beach, and we're talking about history. When you look at our area, there's several places that were built here, done here, in relationship to military. I know that on St. Pete Beach, there's a museum that talks about the early Wades and Watts who came into our military, and guess what? They all ended up at St. Pete Beach. Before that, there was a military area that I'm getting ready to talk to a gentleman about right now, and we're going to talk about Don Cesar. I got Michael right here, and he's going to tell us a little bit of history about Don Cesar. Just a little bit.
That I know of it.
Michael, here you go.
I know the Spaniards are what kind of came to the Florida area and discovered Florida. So there's this hotel in Pasadena, it's called Pasadena, that actually was home of a lot of the military. And the military was actually, a lot of them deceased there, and they say it's haunted. There's so much more history in Florida that I don't know. I'm from Maryland.
Another transplant. But guess what? He brought me some history that I didn't know. We are in paradise right here. And I got my man here, Peter. He does burial with dignity for our veterans. And we're going to say thank you to Peter for what he brought to the table. Veterans, you now have an opportunity to be buried with dignity. We want to say thank you for taking time to listening to this. The opening is about
People are not afraid of the ghosts.
some of the people are not afraid of the ghosts out there at Don Cesar. Don't forget, they do tempt you. But guess what? What about that ghost? Stay tuned, more to come. What an opening for today. Don't forget, this was Memorial Weekend. We ended up in Orlando. We ended up in Tampa. And we got a lot of interviews that you're going to hear about. But guess what? Before we go any further, I want everybody to say hello to our Burial with Dignity representative for all of our veterans and their family members and their children and the brats and the sidekicks that come along who might need some help. Say hello to Peter.
Good. Hey, hello everybody. How you doing? Welcome, and good for you listening. And you know what we do? We take all the veterans. We support vets too. So give us a call, check us out, and we'll let you know what we can do for you. All our vets need to be taken care of. They took care of us. It's their time, and here we go. We standing up. We're in the front line. It's time to remember us. We're on the front line, baby. Front line for the vets. Let's take care of our vets today.
Taking care of our vets today. We support vets too. You know it's real. And guess what? We also support those who support vets. So we want you to tell everybody and your family, your friends, or whatever. We'll be right back. More to come. Stay tuned. More from the Boss of the Beach at WVETonlineradio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this is Keith, the Boss of the Beach. And of course, I'm live right here, downtown St. Pete. Just left Orlando on my way to New York. And guess what? Miami. We'll see you again very soon. Let's talk about something that's dear to my heart right now. And that is, why? The question is why. When you were little and you asked everybody, your mama said, good morning, you say, why? Good afternoon, they say, why? Hello, can you put on your shoes? Why? The question is why? Why is it that we can't spend more time on the positive sides of what's going on with veterans? All veterans aren't under the bridges. All veterans are not in hospitals. All veterans are not doing those things. There's a lot of veterans doing very well, and they're reaching out for the rest of the veterans. But the why question needs to be all positive. So, what I'm going to tell you right now is the why answer. Why we're here. We're here to support all of those who support the veterans and the military. We're here for that answer to the question why. WVET, onlineradio.com, American Veterans Alliance, and our good friends with Wounded Warriors, and our great friends with American Legions and AMVETS. Those are some of the VSOs that make a difference. And don't forget, all of the VSOs count. So we got American Veterans Alliance, and we got Society for Hispanic Veterans. And of course, we got USA America for veterans. We know who they are. They're those politicians who stand up no matter what for our veterans. And we want to thank them every day. And I did give a shout out, of course, to my good friend, Charlie Chris. He stood for veterans a long time. But we got a new guy in town, and he's the governor. We want to say thank you to him for what he's doing for our veterans. DeSantis. Remember the name. He'll go down in history as one of those who stood up no matter what. There was turmoil in America. There was turmoil in the state of Florida. And DeSantis came and he stayed. He fit the bill and he came through. Now, when you start talking about Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and of course, and guess what? I think I got the owner of the restaurant I'm sitting in, and I'm going to make them say hello, and we're going to move on. But I want to say thank you for all of our politicians who stand up for our veterans. Those who don't, we wish them well. But those who do, we say thank you and be grateful. The next segment that you're going to see was handpicked because we know that this is something that you need to know. Right now, we're going to talk about Vietnam women and their salvation. There was a time when there was a lot of women involved in the Vietnam War, and we're going to talk about them.
I'd like to take you back to Vietnam one night. If I share with you this one night, it's sort of like that describes the whole year. That night, the red alert siren went off. I hear the siren, grab the helmet, grab the flak jacket, run to my unit, and all hell broke loose. We were being rocketed and mortared. I could hear the thuds all around me. Standard operating procedure was protect the patients at all costs. We're throwing mattresses on the patients who couldn't get out of their beds because they were hooked to trachs, ventilators, chest tubes. We didn't go for cover until those men were taken care of. We were getting hit hard, and the hooch right next to mine had been blown off the face of the map. It was gone. That was one night in Vietnam. These were women who had put themselves in peril. We were in a war zone. We were there to bring the men home alive. That was our mission.
Good evening. Just 6 days ago, the people of America were jolted by an announcement.
They considered Vietnam the first television war. It brought the war home to the living rooms. People were now seeing men flying helicopters, flying airplanes, men on the ground, and they were in the jungle, or they were in rice paddies, or they were in body bags. I know there are casualties. So was I thinking about maybe I wouldn't come home? I was only 21, but I know I wasn't bulletproof.
The average lifespan of an infantryman in Vietnam only lasted about 3 months before they were either killed or wounded. When somebody gets wounded, there's usually a lot of hollering and screaming. And guys are yelling for the medic. you go far north of being scared, and you see this buddy of yours in this condition. And when we put them on the helicopter, they would be without legs or arms, and I mean, just horrible, horrible injuries. And these doctors and nurses back in the field hospital, they did miracles on these guys.
You know, they came into our unit with every kind of wound. Was it a grenade? Was it a bullet? Was it a sniper? Patients who hadn't just been wounded but now also have malaria. Was I prepared for what I saw in Vietnam? No, of course not. Nothing prepares you for that. Was I prepared for hard work? Yes. Were we prepared to be with a dying soldier and we were that last person he would see? Yes.
You know, in my case, when I was wounded, I was paralyzed from the waist down. I mean, I thought this was the most horrible thing that could ever happen, right? There was a nurse that had her hand on my forehead and on my neck. And she just held me. You know, she just held me. And it made me feel like it was my mom.
I hope that each patient I took care of knew that I was there to give comfort and hope. But the turnover, it was endless.
Patients kept coming in, and the wounds were so horrendous that we got, and the guys were so young. We only got bad news. If they had a victory someplace, we still got the guys that were wounded. So for us, it wasn't a victory. Nobody ever talked about it, about what we saw that day, about how we felt about it. We just did it.
I think when I came home from Vietnam, the one thing I felt the most was this extreme sadness. How could we explain to people what we had just done, what we had just seen? People really didn't want to know anyway because they were so anti-war and they held the war against us. So what happened? We clammed up. We stopped talking and we kept it to ourselves.
When they came home, they got treated just like we did.
To come home and the rest of the people say, whatever you experienced was worth nothing. We don't want to hear about it. That was really, really hard. And so a lot of them had a lot of problems.
In 1982, when I learned that there would be a dedication, it was a turning point. Finally, all the people who were opposing the war, they could see us for who we were at the wall, crying over the loss of our friends and the death. And they started hearing the stories of the women and the men who had served. I heard about the statue to 3 men in '84. I had this burning inside of me and something percolating just kept gnawing at me that if there's a statue to 3 men, we need a statue to honor women. That was the start of the Vietnam Women's Memorial. I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to make some phone calls. Started calling women, trying to find them, and then finding them. I was so disheartened by the conversations. Number 1.
Diane, I don't know how you can talk about it. I hadn't even started thinking about it or talking about it, because then it would have killed me otherwise. And I know that women have committed suicide because it was just so sad.
I thought, why am I going to do this if the women don't want it? And then you know what occurred to me? I heard bitterness, I heard anger, resignation, sadness. I just heard everything coming out of these women's mouths that told me these women need a memorial. They need to heal. And people need to know who these women are and need to hear their stories.
It took Diane 10 years. The women absolutely needed it. And women have always absolutely needed it. But they never thought they deserved it.
Glenna Goodacre She built us the most beautiful monument we could have hoped for. She captured what it was the women of the Vietnam War needed to help them heal, and really what the world needed to see, and that was how women looked in wartime.
It shows the anguish that we had, the hopelessness that we felt, but also that we just kept going and caring for people.
I hoped you liked that. Guess what? Another piece of the adventure. The segment that you just saw, the segment that you just heard. If you saw it, you were on the internet. We played it. We're now on YouTube. You can find us. We're now in a lot of places. Look us up. But that segment is important to you. Stay tuned. More to come. American Veterans Alliance, WVET, onlineradio.com. Hi, this is Keith, the boss of the beach. And today is special. We're going to be doing an interview with somebody who will take you from Miami all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma. A veteran, family of veterans. And I'm going to say hello, Miss Edwina. Please talk to us about the history in your family.
Well, good afternoon, Keith. It's good to hear your voice and to speak to our listeners. I am originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Born and bred there. Got my elementary and part of my secondary education there. My great-grandmother, Lena Hawkins Green, was born in 1892.
Okay.
And was 29 years old at the time of the 1921 Tulsa Massacre. My grandmother, Carrie Wall Smith, who was born in 1917, was 4 years old at the time of the Tulsa Massacre.
Wow.
My grandfather, Thomas L. Smith, who was born in 1910, was 11 years old at the time of the Tulsa Massacre. So I am a descendant of the 1921 Tulsa Massacre.
All right, and that's Greenwood, which is a suburb right there in Tulsa. Let's talk about how many of these people ended up military. There was a base there already, wasn't it?
Fort Sill, Oklahoma was there.
Oklahoma, yes.
And then we have Altus Air Force Base in Oklahoma.
Now, which branch did you serve in?
I served in the United States Air Force.
Okay.
Let's
talk about your brother. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, my dad was born in 1932. He served in the Korean War.
Korean War, okay.
He was Army.
Army?
And
you had brothers?
My brother, Edison Woods Hubert Jr., served in the Air Force.
Fabulous.
Yes. Now I have 3 sons who served this country as well. My oldest served in the Army, Kevin Alexander James. My middle son, Brian Christopher James, served in the United States Navy. And my youngest son, Daryl Thomas James, served in the United States Army. Now, of the 3, my youngest son is a seasoned combat veteran. He had 2 tours in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan.
We salute him. We salute you for even having him, giving birth to him. But at this point, we salute him because we now know that we do have veterans who extend the generations. That's what it's all about. People say there's 2 things that will never go away: death and veterans.
That's true.
Everybody's going to fight for somebody, and in this country, we stand for what we believe. And I want to thank you, Edwina. Go ahead, talk to me. When are you going to go back home?
We plan on going back. We're taking a cross-country trip with you, as a matter of fact, starting August 15th. We're leaving Homestead, Florida, and we're supposed to be going to cross the state of Florida. We're going to go to Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and then Oklahoma.
Okay.
culminating hopefully at the Crown Hill Cemetery September 6th, where my family is buried.
Is Crown Hill one of the original cemeteries that allow veterans and regular home folk and everybody to be buried?
From what I can gather, Crown Hill was predominantly a black cemetery.
Right, historical black cemetery.
Yeah,
Did they have
historical black.
Did they have Indians?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
My great grandmother's father, if from what I was told, was the first black sheriff of a reservation town called Redbird, Oklahoma.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're hearing pure history. Right now, this is Miss Edwina Alvarez, WVET, onlineradio.com. She is a veteran that is proven and planning on giving back sometime around Labor Day. So stay tuned to WVET and look out for Edwina's continued story. She is our story on the history of veterans as a family. Thank you, Edwina. Many blessings, and we'll call you again next week.
I'm looking forward to sharing some of my family history with the listeners.
Well, you got it, and I got pictures, so if they go to the internet, they'll be able to see some of the photographs.
Some of those pictures are over 100 years old, I have you know.
I know. That's why I'm saying go to WVET Online Radio. Look for a little message from this show, and go there, and you'll be able to see veteran family members from Edwina Alvarez. Many blessings.
Thank you.
Over and out.
Thank you. Blessing you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, I hope you enjoyed this week's show. It's nothing but the best of our shows. Don't forget you can tune in anytime, rain or shine, 96.7 FM and St. Pete Radio. Of course, we're live all the time, 24/7. WVETonlineradio.com. And we've added the Caribbean section, which is Vibes Radio 1. Tune us in. Check us out. Look for Ashley, Hakeem, Dr. Al Farrell founded this station, and we're carrying it on. Thank you to Al. Happy birthday. You made it. I'm through. Over and out. As a closing statement, remember what you heard and share it with your friends. WVETonlineradio.com. Voice for Veterans. Keep the boss of the beach. We want to say thank you to Michael for taking the time to talk with us about a little history of this great area. Over and out.
Still the greatest country on the face of the earth, the home of the brave and the land of the free. A lot of young men and women shed their blood around the world and proudly gave their lives for you and me. I stand for the flag, I kneel at the altar, I pray for our nation that it never falters. I hope for our children, I fight for our freedom, and I ain't gonna bow to any man. I support our local heroes that proudly wear the badge, and the first responders answering the call. I believe that all lives matter, whether black, white, or brown, and I believe in equal justice for all. I stand for the flag, I kneel at the altar, I pray for our nation that it never falters. I hope for our children, I fight for our freedom, and I ain't gonna bow to any man. I So brothers and sisters, rise up and stand tall. If we don't stand united, divided we will fall.
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words: America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
Rise and shine to Sunshine Radio 96.7, Saturday mornings. This is Voice for Veterans and the rest of us who say we support veterans too. News, commentary, information, education, music, and entertainment. New just for you, 96.7. Now, you've heard the rest. Stay tuned for the best. Rise and shine to Sunshine Radio and stay with us all day long.